After the first trials, humanity had begun to understand the nature of the Archonites' challenge. They were not mindless conquerors. They were testers measuring human ingenuity, courage, and unity. And humanity, led by Captain Elena Reyes, was learning fast. The Dauntless returned to its fleet, where engineers and scientists worked tirelessly to improve every system. They analyzed the Archonites' energy patterns, studying their ship's speed, their shields, and their methods of scanning. Every observation became a lesson, and every mistake became an opportunity to learn. Human technology, though smaller in scale, began to adapt in ways that even the Archonites had not anticipated. Elena called her officers to the command room. "We are not powerless," she said firmly. "We cannot match them ship for ship, but we can match them in thinking, in creativity, and in courage. That is where humanity wins." Her words sparked determination. Pilots trained through complex simulations that mirrored Archonite tactics. Engineers experimented with new shield modulation systems and adaptive weapons that could respond to changing energy fields. Scientists created algorithms to predict enemy movements, and communication officers devised ways to coordinate the fleet with unmatched precision. The next trial arrived sooner than expected. The Archonites deployed an enormous energy storm between two asteroid belts, a swirling vortex of lightning, magnetic waves, and radiation. The human fleet had to navigate through it to reach a designated point, a small platform floating in the center of the storm. Failure meant destruction. Elena's hands moved over the control panel as her ship entered the chaos. The storm raged around them, throwing violent surges at the fleet. Pilots shouted coordinates, engines strained, and sensors flickered in the storm's interference. Yet humanity adapted. Ships adjusted their shields dynamically, weaving through the lightning like dancers on a stage. One human pilot, Lieutenant Marco Chen, noticed a pattern in the lightning's flow. He relayed it to Elena, who quickly coordinated the entire squadron to exploit the storm's rhythm. Slowly, with incredible teamwork, the fleet moved forward. Human ingenuity shone brightly as ships navigated the impossible path, reaching the platform without a single loss. The Archonites observed silently. They did not interfere, but subtle energy waves rippled through their ships like signals of recognition. Elena realized that every small victory was not about harming the Archonites, but proving human capability. Humanity was not passive. They were adapting, learning, and rising to every challenge. Meanwhile, scientists on the Dauntless discovered something surprising. The Archonites' ships, though massive and powerful, had patterns in their energy output that could be predicted. If humanity could anticipate these patterns, they could use them to maneuver in ways the Archonites did not expect. This was not about defeating them outright. It was about showing that humans could think faster, adapt smarter, and act more boldly. Elena devised a daring plan. A small squadron would infiltrate one of the Archonite ships not to attack, but to demonstrate human skill and strategy. The mission required stealth, precision, and courage beyond anything they had attempted before. As the squadron approached, the massive Archonite vessel loomed ahead like a dark mountain. Sensors detected energy barriers, defense drones, and powerful scanning waves. One wrong move would mean instant detection. Yet the human crew pressed on, relying on newly developed cloaking technology and expert piloting. Inside the Archonite vessel, humans discovered something incredible. The ship's interior was vast, filled with corridors that seemed impossible to map, control panels covered in alien symbols, and energy systems far beyond human technology. Yet the crew adapted. Engineers decoded the panels, pilots navigated unknown corridors, and Elena's team moved like a well-coordinated unit. Each obstacle tested not strength, but intellect and teamwork. By the end of the infiltration, humans had mapped critical areas of the Archonite ship and returned safely. The aliens' response was unusual. They did not retaliate, nor did they attack. Instead, subtle energy pulses seemed to ripple across the ship, almost like silent applause. Humanity had earned recognition. Word of this achievement reached Earth. People everywhere were inspired. Schools, families, and communities discussed the bravery and skill of the human crews. Humanity was beginning to see itself differently, not as a species small and fragile, but as one capable of meeting challenges no one thought it could face. Elena knew this was only the beginning. The Archonites' challenges would grow more difficult, testing not just skill but judgment and courage. But humanity had already proven something vital. When faced with the impossible, they would not cower. They would rise. Weeks passed, and the Arcanites introduced a new trial, one that tested human coordination on a massive scale. They created a zone of shifting gravitational fields, dangerous energy pulses, and moving obstacles across hundreds of kilometers of space. Entire fleets had to navigate it without losing ships, supplies, or personnel. The human response was extraordinary. Engineers calculated real-time adjustments to ship systems, pilots performed maneuvers that seemed impossible, and communication officers coordinated actions with split-second timing. Human ingenuity combined with teamwork allowed the fleet to survive the deadly zone, again impressing the silent observers. Elena reflected on these victories. "They came expecting to intimidate us," she said to her crew. "They wanted to see if humanity could survive. And now we are proving that we can do more than survive. We can overcome, adapt, and rise stronger than ever." At the same time, scientists discovered another remarkable fact. The Arcanites' energy systems could be influenced, not by force but by understanding patterns and anticipating behavior. Humanity was learning that victory was not about brute power. It was about intelligence, observation, and courage. The next test combined all previous challenges. The Arcanites created a massive simulation zone, combining asteroid fields, energy storms, and moving barriers, with the addition of complex puzzles that required strategic thinking. The human fleet had to navigate, solve, and survive simultaneously. Elena led her crews through the chaos. Every pilot, engineer, and officer worked in perfect coordination. Each obstacle was met with careful observation, quick thinking, and daring action. It was a test of every skill humanity had learned. By the end, the human fleet had passed the simulation successfully, again leaving the Arcanites in silent acknowledgement. In the quiet after the trial, Elena looked at the stars. She understood now that the Arcanites had a purpose beyond simple challenge. They wanted humanity to realize its own strength, not just in technology or firepower, but in unity, creativity, and courage. Back on Earth, people celebrated every small victory. Humanity had faced the mightiest beings in the galaxy, and had not only survived but adapted, learned, and grown stronger. Children drew pictures of space battles. Scientists worked harder than ever, and every person felt a spark of pride. Humanity was no longer just a species on a small planet. They were becoming a force that could stand in the galaxy. Elena returned to her cabin after a long day. She stared at the view of distant stars through the ship's viewport. "This is only the beginning," she whispered. "They may be the mightiest, but we have something they do not: humanity itself." Little did she know, the next trials would challenge not only human skill, but courage and unity in ways they had never imagined. Humanity had won the respect of the Arcanites, but the greatest challenges were still ahead. For the first time in history, humanity realized it could face the impossible and rise above it. And the galaxy would take notice. Humanity had grown stronger, wiser, and more confident after months of facing the Arcanite challenges. Every test, every maneuver, every small victory had proven something vital. Humans could adapt, learn, and overcome obstacles that seemed impossible. But the Arcanites had not yet shown the full extent of their trials. The message arrived unexpectedly, a single, precise instruction from the Arcanite leader. "Prepare for the ultimate trial. A world of storms and danger awaits. Show us your unity, intelligence, and courage. Only then will you be measured fully." Elena and her crew gathered in the command room. Maps of the target system glowed on the holographic display. The planet was enormous, with violent weather, jagged terrain, and unpredictable energy fields. The Arcanites had set up the ultimate arena, a test that would challenge human ingenuity, teamwork, and bravery to their limits. "This is it," Elena said, her voice steady but full of intensity. "We have proven ourselves in smaller challenges, but this will push everything we know. Everyone must be alert. Everyone must trust each other. We will face danger, but we will face it together. Humanity will rise." The human fleet approached the planet carefully. Clouds of purple and green energy swirled around its atmosphere, crackling with electrical storms that could destroy ships instantly. Gravity fluctuated unpredictably, sometimes pulling the fleet downward, sometimes throwing ships upward. Yet Elena's crew adapted quickly. Engineers adjusted shields in real time. Pilots made precise maneuvers, and communication officers coordinated every movement across the fleet. The first obstacle appeared almost immediately. A massive storm of energy and debris, moving across the planet's orbit like a living force. Human ships were forced to weave between deadly currents, dodging energy strikes and debris that moved with intelligence. Many would have thought survival impossible. But the humans pushed forward. Lieutenant Marco Chen, now a seasoned pilot of the fleet, noticed a pattern in the storm. "Captain, the energy pulses have a rhythm," he shouted over the comms. "We can move through if we follow it." Elena nodded. "Coordinate the entire squadron. Follow the rhythm. Trust your instincts." The fleet moved like a single organism. Ships rose and fell, dodged and spun following Marco's insight. The storm lashed at them, throwing waves of energy and shaking hulls, but human precision and adaptability kept them safe. Slowly, they emerged from the storm, proving once again that humanity's strength was not in raw power but in courage, intelligence, and unity. But the Arcanites were not finished. The next challenge was far more complex. The planet itself had been transformed into a maze of floating platforms, energy barriers, and moving obstacles. Some platforms rose and fell with unpredictable speed, while others carried energy pulses capable of disintegrating ships if touched. Navigation alone required split-second decisions, but the Arcanites added puzzles, complex energy patterns that had to be solved to progress. Elena led her squadron with confidence. "Think of this like all our previous challenges combined," she said. "Watch patterns, coordinate, and solve the puzzles as we move. This is what humans do best, adapt and overcome." The squadron moved carefully. Engineers analyzed the energy puzzles, translating alien symbols into human logic. Pilots flew with perfect timing, landing on moving platforms and dodging energy pulses. Communication officers relayed information instantly, ensuring every ship stayed in sync. One moment was especially tense. A massive energy barrier blocked their path, pulsing in unpredictable ways. Many ships hesitated, unsure how to pass safely. Elena studied the patterns, then gave the command. "We move as one. Timing is everything. Trust your instincts and each other." The squadron surged forward. Ships spun and dodged, narrowly avoiding fatal strikes. Some platforms collapsed behind them, but humanity moved as one, precise and coordinated. They passed the barrier with no casualties. The Arcanites observed silently, their massive forms looming above as if acknowledging the human skill. The final obstacle was the most dangerous. A massive canyon of energy and jagged rock stretched across the planet's surface. Only a narrow path constantly shifting with energy currents allowed passage. Elena's crew would have to navigate the entire fleet through it without a single mistake. Elena took a deep breath. "This is it," she said. "Stay focused. Every move counts. We are humanity, and we do not fail together." Ships moved forward, weaving through the canyon with precision. Energy currents struck from above and below. Rock shifted unpredictably, and turbulence threatened to throw even the most skilled pilots off course. Yet the human fleet adapted. Engineers recalibrated shields in real time. Pilots made daring maneuvers, and every crew member anticipated the next obstacle. In the midst of the canyon, Lieutenant Chen spotted a dangerous pattern in the energy currents. "Captain, if we move now, we can use the currents to push the fleet forward safely." Elena nodded instantly. "Do it. Everyone follow the plan." The fleet surged forward, using the energy currents instead of fighting them. Ships rose and fell, spun and dodged, moving with precision that surprised even the Arcanites. Slowly, they cleared the canyon, reaching the other side safely. Humanity had conquered the greatest physical challenge yet. But the Arcanites' final test was not just physical. It was a test of judgment and courage. A massive energy field appeared, forming a cage around a platform in the center of the planet. On it floated a human-shaped hologram, representing the entire fleet. The energy field pulsed violently, threatening to destroy the platform if humans made the wrong choice. A message came from the Arcanites. "To pass the final trial, choose wisely. Your actions determine your worth." Elena understood immediately. This was not about fighting or flying. It was about decision-making under pressure. The wrong choice could destroy everything humanity had accomplished. She studied the field carefully. "The energy pulses are synchronized," she said. "If we act together, we can redirect them and stabilize the platform. But it requires absolute trust." The crew nodded. Engineers, pilots, and officers worked together, timing their actions perfectly. Energy pulses were absorbed, redirected, and synchronized. The hologram shimmered, then solidified. The platform remained intact. Humanity had passed the final trial. The Arcanites reacted in an unprecedented way. Their massive forms descended closer, their energy waves vibrating through space. The leader's voice resonated, calm yet powerful. "You have proven yourselves. Humanity is not weak. You are worthy of respect." Elena felt a wave of pride. Humanity had done it, not through sheer force, but through intelligence, courage, and unity. Every small victory, every daring maneuver, every decision under pressure had built to this moment. The Arcanites had recognized human strength, not as warriors, but as thinkers, adapters, and collaborators. Back on Earth, the news spread quickly. Humanity celebrated not just survival, but triumph. The challenges had shown that courage, intelligence, and unity could rival even the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Humanity had proven itself worthy. Elena stood on the bridge of the Dauntless, looking out at the Arcanite fleet. "We have shown them what humans can do," she said softly. "But the universe is vast, and our journey has only just begun." The Arcanites did not attack. They had tested, observed, and now acknowledged. Humanity had faced the greatest trial and emerged not only unbroken, but stronger than ever. The galaxy had taken notice, and yet even in triumph a question lingered. Why had the Arcanites vanished before, and what would their next move be? Humanity had proven its strength, but the universe held mysteries far beyond their imagination. The greatest trial had ended. Humanity had passed, but the story was far from over. The lessons learned, the courage displayed, and the ingenuity shown would guide humanity into the challenges yet to come, and somewhere beyond the stars the Arcanites watched, waiting for the next moment when humanity would rise even higher. Humanity had faced the ultimate trial and passed with skill, courage, and unity. The fleet had navigated storms, puzzles, and deadly energy fields. The Arcanites had observed silently, acknowledging humanity's strength with every challenge. And now, as the human fleet drifted in the calm after the final trial, something unexpected happened. The Arcanites vanished. At first, no one believed it. Captain Elena Reyes stared at the empty space where the massive ships had been only moments before. Where did they go?" she whispered, her voice trembling with disbelief. Her officers scanned the area frantically. Sensors reported nothing. No ships, no energy signatures, no traces of the fleet that had challenged humanity for months. The silence was profound. For the first time, humanity realized the full weight of what had just occurred. They had faced the mightiest beings in the galaxy, passed every trial and earned recognition, and now those beings were gone. Without a word, without a signal, without warning. On Earth, news stations struggled to report the unbelievable. Scientists and government leaders debated furiously. Some suggested it was a cloaking technology beyond human comprehension. Others speculated it was a test of patience, a lesson in humility. But everyone agreed on one point. Humanity had witnessed something extraordinary. Elena convened her senior officers on the Dauntless. "They left," she said plainly, without warning, without explanation. "But we know one thing, they respected us. They tested us and we proved ourselves. Now we must understand what it means for humanity." Lieutenant Marco Chen, still recovering from the intensity of the greatest trial, spoke up. "Captain, why vanish? Why challenge us and then disappear? Were we not supposed to be ready for something more?" Elena considered this carefully. "I think they wanted more than survival," she said. "They wanted to see who we truly are. Our courage, intelligence, unity. We proved ourselves. Perhaps they vanished because there was nothing left to test." For now, the fleet returned to Earth cautiously. As they entered the solar system, humanity's pride was tempered by curiosity and unease. People across the planet celebrated, but questions lingered. Why challenge humanity? What would the Arcanites do next? And had humanity truly seen the last of them? Even as humans celebrated, scientists analyzed the data collected from the trials. They studied the Arcanite energy systems, the patterns of their ships, and the behavior observed during each challenge. One conclusion became clear. Humans had learned to match intelligence and adaptability with every obstacle. They had proven that the mightiest force in the galaxy could not intimidate them. Elena addressed the fleet one last time before returning to Earth. "We faced the impossible," she said. We were tested, observed, and challenged, and we responded with courage, ingenuity, and unity. Humanity is no longer a species to underestimate. Remember this. Our strength lies not only in technology or power, but in who we are together. The return to Earth was met with celebration. Streets were filled with people cheering for the fleet's safe return. Children waved flags, families embraced, and leaders publicly acknowledged the bravery of Captain Elena and her crew. Humanity had faced a challenge unlike any before, and had triumphed without firing a single shot in anger. Yet, even in celebration, a subtle unease remained. The Arcanites had vanished without warning. Their fleets, massive and powerful, had disappeared from the edge of the Milky Way as if they had never been there. Humanity had proven its worth, but what had been the purpose behind the disappearance? Some believed it was a warning, others a message, and some thought it was a lesson in patience. Back aboard the Dauntless, Elena pondered the situation. She reviewed reports, energy readings, and communications logs. Every detail pointed to one truth. The Arcanites had not attacked humanity. They had tested, guided, and challenged, but left before anything else could happen. The question remained, would they return? And if they did, would humanity be ready? Meanwhile, across Earth, children drew pictures of enormous alien ships and human fleets navigating storms of energy. Scientists published studies on the energy patterns, teaching new generations about courage, ingenuity, and teamwork. Humanity was inspired, but aware that the universe was far larger and stranger than they had imagined. Elena's crew began training for the possibility of a new challenge. They upgraded ships, refined tactics, and developed strategies based on lessons learned from the Arcanites. Humanity had survived, learned, and grown stronger, but they knew the galaxy held even greater mysteries. One day, weeks after the disappearance, a subtle energy signal reached the outer planets. It was faint, almost imperceptible, and not directed at anyone in particular. Scientists detected it and scrambled to decode its meaning. While the message was unclear, its presence reminded humanity that they had not been forgotten. Somewhere beyond the stars, the Arcanites were watching. Elena stood on the Dauntless's observation deck, looking at the stars stretching endlessly before her. "They came to challenge us," she whispered. "And now they are gone. But we have proven something vital. Humanity is not weak, and one day we may see them again." The fleet's return inspired new missions. Colonies expanded, new technologies were developed, and human fleets explored further than ever before. Humanity no longer feared the unknown. They embraced it, guided by the lessons learned from the greatest trial they had ever faced. At night, in quiet moments, Elena often thought about the Arcanites. Why vanish? Why challenge humanity? She could not know for certain. But one truth had become clear. The trials had changed humanity. They had inspired courage, creativity, and unity on a scale never seen before. Humanity had learned to rise, to adapt, and to face the impossible, and they would carry this lesson across the stars. In the weeks following the disappearance, a small team of scientists discovered traces of Arcanite technology hidden in the edges of space. These remnants were not weapons, they were records, patterns, and data. It was as if the Arcanites had left behind a subtle message: learn, grow, and prepare. Humanity eagerly studied these fragments, unlocking secrets that would accelerate science, engineering, and exploration by decades. Elena, now back on Earth, addressed a global council. "The Arcanites did not conquer us," she said. "They challenged us, and we responded not with fear, but with courage and intelligence. Humanity has proven its worth. We are ready for the future, whatever it may bring." People listened in awe. Humanity had faced beings said to be the mightiest in the galaxy, and survived, thrived, and learned. The Arcanites had vanished, but their impact remained. Humanity had grown not through destruction, but through perseverance, ingenuity, and unity. As the stars stretched endlessly above Earth, Elena gazed upward. Somewhere beyond the reaches of human sight, the Arcanites waited, and humanity, now stronger and wiser than ever, was ready. The trials were over, but the lessons endured. The Mightiest had challenged humanity, and humanity had risen. And somewhere, far beyond known space, the Arcanites observed silently, their massive forms drifting through the darkness. They had tested humanity, seen its courage, and vanished without a trace. But their eyes remained on the humans, knowing that the next challenge would one day arrive, and humanity would be ready. For now, Earth celebrated, Fleets trained, and humanity dreamed. The universe had been tested, and humanity had answered the call with skill, bravery, and intelligence beyond measure. The greatest lesson had been learned. Even in the face of the mightiest, humanity could rise, adapt, and prevail. And one day, when the Arcanites or another great challenge returned, humanity would be waiting. Months had passed since the Arcanites vanished without a trace. Humanity had returned to Earth as heroes, celebrated across every continent. Yet the memory of the trials remained vivid. The courage, ingenuity, and unity humanity had displayed were now more than stories. They were a legacy. Captain Elena Reyes walked through a bustling space command center on Earth, where scientists and engineers worked tirelessly. Holographic screens displayed star systems, fleet positions, and energy readings. Ships were being upgraded, new strategies developed, and young pilots trained in the techniques honed during the Arcanite trials. Elena paused to watch a young cadet maneuver a small ship through a simulated energy storm. The precision, courage, and quick thinking reminded her of her own crew during the trials. Humanity had learned, adapted, and grown stronger. The Arcanites' challenge had changed everything. A sudden alert broke her thoughts. "Captain, we are detecting an unusual energy pattern coming from the edge of the Milky Way," a young officer reported. "It's faint, but it seems intentional." Elena felt a familiar mix of tension and curiosity. "Show me," she said, moving to the control panel. On the screen, a subtle ripple of energy stretched across the darkness of space. It was unlike anything humans had seen before, organized, precise, and deliberate. Could it be them? The officer asked, voice trembling with excitement. Elena studied the signal. Possibly. Or it could be a message left behind during their disappearance. Either way, we must respond carefully. Prepare a small observation fleet. I want every precaution in place, but no unnecessary aggression. The fleet launched within hours. Ships moved quietly, cautiously toward the source of the signal. Every crew member remembered the lessons of the Arcanite trials: patience, observation, intelligence, and courage. There would be no rash actions. Humanity had learned that the greatest victories often came from calm, thoughtful responses. As they approached the source, the energy signal formed a visible pattern, shimmering like an enormous net of light in space. It was beautiful, complex, and alive. Scientists on board scrambled to decode it, working together to understand its structure and purpose. Captain Elena spoke to her officers. "This is a test of intellect, not firepower. Every move we make must be precise. Observe, learn, and adapt. Humanity has faced the impossible before. We can do it again." The fleet studied the signal for hours. Patterns emerged, intricate waves of energy that pulsed in predictable sequences. Slowly, humans began to understand that the signal was not a threat but a form of communication. It was a challenge, yes, but also an invitation to think, to observe, and to prove understanding. Lieutenant Marco Chen leaned over the console. "Captain, I think I can predict the next pulse," he said. "If we follow this sequence, it might complete a circuit or trigger a response." Elena nodded. "Do it carefully. Everyone else monitor for any unexpected changes." The pulse sequence began and the energy net shimmered brighter. Slowly, patterns shifted as if responding to humanity's actions. The fleet watched in awe. For the first time, it became clear. The Arcanites were still observing, still testing, even from afar. Their trials had not ended. They had left humanity a puzzle, a challenge to grow stronger, wiser, and more united. Back on Earth, people followed every update with fascination. Scientists explained the patterns, while schools used the events as lessons in problem-solving, teamwork, and courage. Humanity realized that the Arcanites' influence extended beyond fear. They had inspired a new era of learning and growth. Elena reflected on all that had happened. From the first arrival of the massive Arcanite ships to the vanishing after the greatest trials, humanity had changed. Fear had become courage, uncertainty had become ingenuity, and isolation had become unity. The Arcanites' challenge had forced humans to see their own potential, a potential that no one had fully understood before. As the observation fleet continued to interact with the energy net, new insights emerged. Humans discovered patterns that could improve energy shields, navigation, and even communication systems. Lessons learned from the trials were being applied not only to defense but to exploration, scientific discovery, and collaboration across colonies. Humanity was no longer just reactive, they were proactive, capable, and inspired. Elena addressed her fleet via comms. We have been tested, observed, and challenged. And now, even from a distance, we are proving our worth. This is the beginning of a new era. Humanity's legacy is not only survival, it is courage, ingenuity, and unity. Carry this lesson forward, to every planet, every star, and every corner of the galaxy. The young officer standing beside her smiled. Captain, the signal is changing again. It looks like it's acknowledging us. Elena nodded. Then let's acknowledge it back. Humanity communicates not just with words, but with action, intelligence, and courage. That is our message. Hours passed as the fleet observed, learned, and adapted to the Arcanite signal. Slowly, the energy pulses formed a final pattern, a shimmering display that seemed almost like a symbol of respect. Humans felt it as a quiet recognition, an acknowledgement that their species had risen to meet the greatest challenge in the galaxy. In that moment, Elena realized something profound. The Arcanites had never come to conquer. They had come to test, to teach, and to inspire. Humanity had proven itself not through force alone, but through unity, courage, and intelligence. Back on Earth, celebrations continued, but the world had changed. Humanity no longer saw itself as small or fragile. The trials had awakened confidence, curiosity, and ambition. People worked together more closely, explored further, and dreamed bigger. Humanity had faced the mightiest, and emerged not only unbroken, but stronger and wiser. Elena watched the stars from the command deck. Somewhere, far beyond the reaches of human perception, the Arcanites observed silently. They had vanished, challenged humanity, and now left a legacy that would endure for generations. Humanity had passed the trials and embraced the lessons, but the universe remained vast, mysterious, and full of possibility. For the first time, humans understood something the Arcanites had known all along. Strength was not measured by weapons, speed, or sheer size. True strength came from courage, intelligence, unity, and the willingness to rise to impossible challenges. Humanity had proven it could do all these and more. The fleet returned to Earth, leaving the Arcanite signal pulsating faintly in the distance. Humanity had gained not just knowledge and experience, but pride and inspiration. Every new mission, every discovery, and every act of courage carried the mark of the Arcanite's challenge. Elena spoke to her crew one last time. Remember this moment. Humanity faced the mightiest and did not falter. We adapted, we learned, and we proved our worth. The galaxy will remember us, not because we were the strongest, but because we rose to every challenge with courage, intelligence, and unity. The crew nodded, their eyes filled with pride. Humanity had faced the impossible, passed every test, and learned lessons that would shape the future. And somewhere, far beyond the stars, the Arcanites had witnessed it all. Silent observers of a species that had grown into its own greatness. As the sun rose over Earth, casting light across oceans and cities, humanity looked up at the stars with new understanding and hope. The Arcanites had challenged them, vanished without a trace, and left behind a legacy of growth, courage, and unity. Humanity had answered the call. Humanity had risen, and the universe would never underestimate them again. The Virelian planet of Siral was known across its star system for its shining oceans and tall crystal mountains. But today the beauty of the world was hidden beneath dark clouds and roaring winds. A cosmic storm had appeared suddenly, larger and stronger than any the Virelians had seen in generations. Fierce lightning split the sky and waves as high as mountains battered the coasts. The people were terrified. Entire cities risked being destroyed, and even the strongest defenses seemed useless against the force of nature. The Virelians were a proud species. They had survived wars, harsh environments, and even a few natural disasters before. Yet this storm was different. It moved with strange intelligence, shifting its course as if it were alive. Scientists and leaders gathered in the Great Hall of Siral's capital to discuss a solution. Our technology is advanced, but this storm is beyond us, said Elder Kryn, a tall Virelian with glowing blue skin. His voice trembled with worry, though he tried to hide it. If we do not act soon, many will die. The council debated for hours, trying every idea they had. They considered using energy shields, redirecting the storm with plasma waves, or even evacuating cities. But nothing seemed certain. Outside, the storm raged on, unstoppable and merciless. Panic began to spread among the population. Families clung to each other, hoping for a miracle. Children stared in awe at the sky, their tiny hands gripping their parents' arms. It was then that the Varelian intelligence network picked up an unusual signal. A human fleet had entered their system. The Varelians had seen humans before, during trade missions and minor diplomatic exchanges, but they were always distant. Humans were unpredictable and their motives were often unclear. The Varelians had little reason to trust them. "This is unexpected," said Kryn, his voice soft. "Why would humans enter our system during a storm like this?" "Perhaps they are scouting," said a young scientist named Terrell. His scales shimmered green in the dim light. "Or maybe they wish to offer aid. But humans rarely help without reason." The council hesitated. Should they accept help, or send the humans away? Pride argued for independence, but fear argued for survival. Finally, after tense debate, the council decided to allow the humans to approach. The human fleet was small, composed of sleek ships that glimmered like silver fish in space. Unlike the Varelians, humans did not seem afraid of the storm. Their ships moved carefully, almost like dancers, dodging lightning and cosmic debris. A team of human engineers and scientists sent a communication to the Varelians. A simple message, clear and calm. "We are here to help. We do not wish for reward or trade. We only wish to save lives." The message surprised the Varelians. No species in the galaxy had ever offered help without expecting something in return. The council studied it closely, suspicious but hopeful. Kryn finally nodded. "Let them come. If they are sincere, perhaps they can do what we cannot." The humans landed near the largest city, Archelaus, which had already begun to flood from the rising storm tides. Unlike the Varelian responders, the humans did not rush in panic. They calmly set up equipment that emitted soft, glowing energy waves into the sky. It was unlike anything the Varelians had seen. The energy began interacting with the storm, slowing its movement, redirecting lightning, and stabilizing the winds over Archelaus. The Varelians watched in awe. Children ran to the windows to see the human machines in action, their mouths open in wonder. "What is that?" one little Varelian whispered. "It is human technology," an elder replied. "But it is more than that. They are not just machines, they have purpose, courage, and care." Hours passed, and the storm, which had seemed unstoppable, began to weaken. Human engineers moved through the city, assisting the Varelian emergency crews. They guided civilians to safety, repaired damaged energy shields, and even carried supplies to areas where the storm's fury had made travel impossible. One young human named Elena climbed to the top of a crumbling tower to redirect energy waves directly into the storm's heart. Sparks flew around her, but she remained steady. Below, a group of Varelian children watched her fearlessly, inspired by her calm bravery. "Humans are strange," Terrell whispered to his colleague. "They do not fear what we fear. They do not panic as we panic, and yet they care." By nightfall, the storm had diminished almost entirely. Where there had been chaos, there was now cautious relief. The citizens of Archelaus emerged from their shelters, blinking at the clear sky and calm seas. Families reunited, and even the council admitted that the humans had saved thousands of lives. Yet despite their heroism, the humans did not demand reward or ceremony. They packed their equipment quietly, preparing to leave. Kryn, still astonished, approached the human commander. "Why do you leave so quietly? Why do you not ask for tribute or thanks?" The commander, a human named Captain Rylan, smiled gently. "We do not seek tribute. We remember what others have done for us. Long ago, a species saved Earth from a similar disaster. Humanity learned then that acts of kindness are meant to be repaid, not collected. We repay them by helping, even if no one asks." Kryn felt a strange mix of admiration and confusion. These humans acted not for gain, not for glory, but because it was right. "You act without personal gain?" he asked, almost hesitantly. Rylan nodded. "We act for life. We act for hope. We act because helping others is part of who we are." The council watched silently as the humans departed, their ships disappearing into the stars. A sense of awe settled over the hall. For the first time, they realized that humanity was unlike any species they had known. Humans did not measure value in power, wealth, or control. They measured it in courage, kindness, and the willingness to act, even when the odds were against them. Later, Kryn walked through the streets of Archelaus. The city was damaged, but lives were saved. Families were together, and hope had returned. "Perhaps we underestimated humanity," he muttered to himself. "They are remarkable." The Varelians began to tell stories of that day, of the humans who came without warning, who risked everything to save others, and then vanished quietly into the night sky. Children grew up hearing the tale, dreaming of the humans who acted out of simple but profound principle, that every favor deserves repayment, and that kindness is stronger than fear. Meanwhile, on Earth, the humans returned to their daily lives, as if nothing had happened. Yet in their minds, the image of the storm and the frightened Virelians remained. They remembered the day a distant species had once offered help without asking for reward, and they quietly smiled, knowing they had repaid that memory in the only way they knew, by helping, unseen by both humans and Virelians. Small ripples of admiration began to spread through other species in the galaxy. Some observed the human fleet in the system and wondered why they acted so differently from everyone else. Others whispered stories of human courage and cleverness. Slowly the legend began, not of conquest or battle, but of unexpected kindness, bravery, and the principle that favors are never forgotten. In that moment, both species understood a universal truth. In the vast galaxy, where danger and uncertainty are constant, a single act of selfless help can ripple far beyond what anyone expects. Humanity had not only saved a planet, they had left an impression on the galaxy itself, one that would last for generations. And so, while the storm faded into memory, the story of that human fleet became the first of many, a story whispered across stars and shared in hope, that humans remember every favor, and when they act, they do so in ways no one can predict, but always in ways that inspire courage, friendship, and trust.